Welcome in this lecture. Today we will discuss credit risk. In this lecture we will discuss many principles of credit risk management. Also we will discuss type of loans and the analysis, also measurement of credit risk on individual loans, and discuss importance for purpose of pricing loans and bonds and setting limits on credit risk exposure. Line of defense, the credit risk management, there are three main lines. The first line is considered the main role for the credit risk management to make control and make credit risk policy for the bank. For that, the main principle and the law defined in the lending role and credit policy of the bank and evaluating the credit risk in the manner of keeping the interest rate for the bank. Second line is considered associated with decision maker with credit approval competence. A credit risk management responsible to make approval on credit risk to different customer types. The third line is considered the risk management unit is responsible to make identification of threats against the overall credit portfolio and make identification of potential credit risk. There are some factors affected on credit risk approval for business customers. If we need to make approval for any loans, we need to evaluate. Main factors affected on credit approval: internal factors, financial risk, that's based on financial reports for the customers, business risk, we will evaluate the market position, external factors, or also economic factors, we will evaluate the economic position, we will analyze the trends in the industry of activities. For discuss how we can to make approve for any loans. There are many types of the loans. We can divide it secured and unsecured as syndication, spot loans, loan commitments, also farm loans, foreign banks and sovereign governments, also state and local governments. And main type, we will focus in this lecture on consumer loans or individual loans. That's personal or auto and credit card. Consumer loans, main specification of consumer loans: non-revolving loans, also growth in credit card debt, then consolidation among credit card issuers, and the risk affected by competitive conditions. That's main specification of consumer loans. Return on the loan. There are many factors affected on the return of a loan, as interest rate, foreign exchange risk, risk premium, the fees, and other requirements such as compensating balances and reserve requirements. The return, we can to calculate the return, just we will divide inflow, divide outflow. Also, we can to calculate the expected return, the rate of return, multiply the probability of repayment. We will observe there is differences between actual return and expected return because there is risk. Lending rates and originating. At retail, we usually accept or reject any decision rather than any adjusted. Also, if we accepted, the customer sorted by loan quantity. While at wholesale, we will use both quantity and pricing adjustment. That's the difference between at retail and at wholesale. Measuring a credit risk. Availability, quality, and cost information are critical factors in a credit risk assessment. Availability, quality, and information are critical factor in a credit risk measurement. That's facilitated by technology and information. Also, we can do measuring credit risk based on qualitative models. According to qualitative models, Blower's specific factors are considered as well as market or systematic factors. Specific factors include reputation, leverage, volatility of earnings, and confidence. Market-specific factors include business cycle and interest rate reverse. Now, how we can to measure credit risk? In beginning, we will depend on some scoring models to measure credit risk. Main credit scoring models, linear probability models. Linear probability model is statistically unsound since Z obtained are not probabilities at all. Since superior statistical techniques are easy variable, there is a little justification for employing linear probability models. Other credit scoring model, we can depend on logit model. Overcome weakness of linear probability model using a transformation or logist function that restricts the probabilities to 0 on intervals. Also, we can use other models include Borobit and other variants with non-linear index function. That scoring models help us to make evaluation for credit risk. Now, the quality of credit scoring models has improved, providing positive impact on control write-offs and default. Altman's linear discriminant model. Linear discriminant analysis is a classification method often produce model whose accuracy is as good as more complex methods. We will use some scores to calculate critical value. Example, if we have 5 scores as working capital on total assets, retained earnings on total assets, earning before interest and tax on total assets, market value equity on book value for debts, and sales on total assets. We need to calculate all these critical values to evaluate credit risk. Main problem in this model only consider 2 extreme cases, default or no default. Also, weights need to be stationary over the time. If we used 5 scores, the weights must be stationary over the time. Also, this model ignores how to be quantify factors, including business cycles effects. Also, database of defaulted loans is not a variable to benchmark model. Also, we can to measure the credit risk based on term structure methods. In these methods, if the risk premium known, we can infer to the probability of default. And we can to expected returns equal risk-free rate after accounting of probability of default. The risk premium can be computed by using treasury strips and zero coupon corporate bonds for calculate risk premium. Term structure-based methods may be generalized to loans with any maturity or to adjust for varying default recovery rates. The loan can be assessed by using inferred probabilities from compare quality bonds. Mortality rate models. Mortality rates model similar to the process employed by insurance companies to price policies. The probability of default is estimated from past data on default. We can to calculate marginal mortality rates. Example, if we need to calculate mortality rates model for 1 year, the value create B default in the first year divide on value create B outstanding the first year. Also, we can to calculate mortality rates for 2 years. Just we will divide value create B default in year 2 divide on value create pay outstanding year 2. In this model, we have some problem associated with credit scoring, such as sensitivity to the period, choosing to calculate mortality rates models. Risk-adjusted return on capital model. According to risk-adjusted return on capital, that's one the most widely used model to evaluate credit risk. How we can to calculate risk-adjusted return on capital? Just we will divide 1 year net income on loan, divide loan risk. Loan risk estimated from loan default rates or using duration. Now we can to calculate risk-adjusted return on capital. Just we will divide 1 year on net income on loan divided loan risk. Also, we can using duration to estimate loan risk. For denominator of risk-adjusted return on capital, by duration approach used to estimate worst case loss in value of loans. In this case, where the change in return is an estimate of worst change in the credit risk premium for the loan classes over the past year. The risk-adjusted return on capital will equal 1 year income on loan divided the change on loan. The last model we will discuss it in this lecture, option model. Option model employ methods to evaluate the option to default that's associated with the default. We can use in this model by largest banks to make control on credit risk. Main idea to applying option model, we will focus on value of risky loans. And we will divide in this equation to calculate option model. So, in this lecture, we discussed some approaches and some models to measure credit risk. Also, we discussed main principle to credit risk management. The main roles to evaluating and make control on credit risk. Also, make the decisions of credit risk. Also, we discussed the various models to assess default risk, include both quantitative and qualitative methods. And in actual, the qualitative methods model, usually we use that model to evaluate the credit risk. Because the qualitative model usually contain both firm-specific factors such as reputation, leverage, market-specific factors as business cycle and level of interest rates. And after that, we discussed term structure and mortality rate models. Also, we discussed risk adjusted on return on capital and option model. Thank you for your attention in this lecture, and see you in next lecture.